Hi, this is the extended bonus version of my interview with Phil Reese about the brand new civil union legislation in Illinois. It's about 20 minutes long, and Phil goes into a lot of great detail, taking us behind the scenes of this amazing advancement in civil rights. And we also talk about what the future holds, from whether the civil unions might get taken away to whether we're any closer to getting marriage. Now let's check in with Phil in Central Illinois. He's a writer for Bellerico and also does the Same Sex Sunday podcast. So, Phil, we're going to talk about the exciting news this week from Chicago about civil unions. Tell us what happened.
Well, last week the governor signed the civil unions bill into law, which is going to be amazing because June 1st we're going to have our first civil unions in Illinois. So it'll be a June union for a lot of people. Unfortunately, we don't have full marriage as is possible for Iowans. Um, so we've actually I know a lot of people who've crossed the border, so to speak, to go to Iowa um, and get valid marriages. And a lot of people are excited about civil unions, but certainly excited that we seem to be on the trajectory to join Iowa with marriages. But there's a lot of people that are still going to be crossing the state lines to get an actual marriage because that's that's a lot more powerful. So there's still a lot of concern in Illinois, even though we're getting our own unions, which is great, about what's going on in Iowa, and a lot of concern about the push for a constitutional amendment in Iowa reversing equality there.
Right, because it's right next door, and yet, if that goes away, then your closest marriage state, I guess, would be Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, basically, or DC, there isn't there's not much. Iowa really holds a very important role as being really the only not non-coastal, non-New England place where marriage is legal, and so losing um, the freedom to marry in Iowa would be devastating for Midwesterners who are really looking with hope at Iowa that their own states can join Iowa. Um, and I think that the freedom to marry has been an amazing thing for Iowa as a state. It's brought in quite a few people. Jolie Justice, I think, from Missouri. She's a Missouri state senator, and she's a lesbian. She crossed state lines and got married to her partner in Iowa. Our own Deb Mell, who's an openly lesbian lawmaker here in Illinois, got engaged this year and plans to go to Iowa to get married. Although now that the civil unions bill has passed, maybe she'll amend those plans. But we'll see. It would be it, it would set back the momentum in the Midwest and places that are not seen as progressive as New York or California or New England, but do have some momentum going thanks to Iowa in terms of getting marriage equality. So it's important that we defend that and protect it.
Yeah, and even though they're just civil unions, it's still a big deal. And Illinois is only the sixth state that has civil unions at this point. How did
Right.
it happen? What was necessary to make civil unions a reality in Illinois?
A lot of hard work. In 2005, the was really when the work really began after we were able to amend our Human Rights Act in Illinois. This was prior to me moving here, but to include gender identity and sexual orientation, employment, and public accommodation protections. Um, the work really began to for the next step, relationship recognition. And there's been a lot of fighting in the community over whether incrementalism is a good idea or not. Should we go the way of civil unions, because then we could get stuck there, as happened in New Jersey. So there was a lot of battling going on, but the work, the building really started happening in 2005. A lot of planning prior to, but the building, the working with legislators, the getting groups together, to building coalitions with non-LGBT groups and non-LGBT leaders, and building coalitions across the state really started in 2005, and was a long haul till now, 2010, 2011. Um, the last little push was really at the end of the year, after the elections, actually, in the lame duck session. We've been watching this bill, and we've been watching its motion for a long time. Greg Harris introduces this bill in every session. He introduced the civil unions bill and the marriage bill in every single session. Um, and Heather Steens up in the Senate did the same, introduced the civil unions and marriage bill in every session. And usually, you know, we'll get a hearing. Doesn't always make it to a third reading. This year it made it to a scheduled third reading, and then it just was sitting there, and we were very nervous. I think they knew what they were doing up in the Dome, which is our capital in Springfield, because as soon as the elections were over, immediately the buzz was flying that they were going to do it. They were going to push it in the lame duck session, and they did. In a matter of 24 hours, it passed the lower house, and then it passed the Senate. Um, and it was a fantastic push. And in the last week before the vote, hundreds and hundreds of activists and community members were bussed out to Springfield from all over the state, from Chicago, from down here in Central Illinois, and all to Springfield to put last minute pressure on the lawmakers, and it worked. There were a few last minute gets, and we were able to sneak over the wire. Something that had been polling very very close, and the whip count had been very 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 close. We ended up having a very good uh, turnout from the lawmakers, and some surprising Republican support, some surprising conservative Democrat support as well.
And so now that you have it, is there a risk that it could get taken away?
Well, civil unions, state law, the amendment process, the constitutional amendment process in Illinois, like Indiana, like Iowa, unlike my native Michigan, is a very complex and deliberate process, which is good. Um, much like Massachusetts process was very slow and deliberate, it's difficult to pass an amendment um, via referendum in the state of Illinois. It takes a lot of work, and it takes the legislature, and it's quite an effort to do. A lot of states, it's really easy to get your your propositions on the ballot and your referendums on the ballot. Not so much in Illinois, but we do have a delicate balance in our legislature. Thankfully, we did get quite a bit of Republican support in the end on in both houses on the civil unions bill. So I think if, let's say, in 2012 the legislature does flip, we won't be losing those Republican votes, and that means that as long as we keep the Democrats that we have, we should be we should be on good ground. But there's always that chance to lose that. So it's really important for activists and advocates to know that once you do have a victory, it's important to defend that victory and to have a plan in place to educate the public on the victory, do a lot of education on the law and what it means and what it doesn't mean, and continue to promote it within the community and to promote supporting of organizations that are doing that defending in the community because you never know when public opinion can change and you could be facing a really nasty and scary situation like Iowa is and like California has with Prop 8.
Yeah, it's as we've seen, as quickly as we can get these things, they can get taken away. What's happening in Illinois now to make that happen, to do that education and outreach and keep the momentum
Well,
moving along?
well, um, I actually I sit on the board of an organization here in Illinois. It's a statewide LGBT organization called the Civil Rights Agenda. Um, and I also know that Equality Illinois, our big statewide group, we're both working right now to prepare for June 1st. We want to be ready for the unions to start taking place June 1st. We want to educate people on how to get it done, what the process is, and so there's going to be a lot of reaching out through the web, through town halls and public forums. Um, our organization is looking to travel throughout the state to do education in southern Illinois, which is quite a bit more conservative than Chicago. And so we're really right now looking to make sure that the community, the LGBTQ and ally community, knows what's coming. Um, then I think that everyone's got their eye. Everyone learned a very powerful and valuable lesson in California in 2008, that you need to have you need to build a fortress around around your hard fought gains. And so I know that the organizations are really looking toward continuing to build support in the legislature for not just for a marriage equality bill that's inevitable in the next 10 years, but uh, just to make sure that we don't lose lawmakers, we don't have lawmakers change their mind, and new lawmakers coming in, support the law of the land as it stands right now.
Are there, we've seen that one of the best ways to do that, to win people to our side and to keep them there, is by telling our stories and making ourselves visible. Are there going to be opportunities to do that, to do outreach and show the couples that are getting the civil unions?
Absolutely. In fact, I've had some conversations with some of the statewide leaders about trying to arrange, uh, coverage, media coverage in the LGBT press in Illinois and nationally, as well as local mainstream press in Illinois, trying to arrange coverage of June 1st and the first weddings that happen. There's a lot of sort of mass celebrations being planned. Um, there's going to be, large unions taking place where, there will be 100 couples showing up and, everyone, uh, you know, saying their vows at the same time and having a big party afterwards. And this will be a great opportunity for the rest of the state for the public to get to know what this law really means to us, that it's affecting families, parents with children, um, and that'll begin really telling the story. And I think when people see the positive impact that this is going to have on families, I think we will continue to see public opinion move in our directions. I mean, and in Illinois, uh, well over 50% of the population was already in favor of civil unions. I think once it's reality, we'll see that increase for sure, and hopefully. uh, we're just under 50% for marriage. Hopefully, once they they see the sky doesn't fall, that 51%, when they see the sky doesn't fall, when civil unions start happening, they might change their mind and choose to support real marriage
It
equality.
reminds me a lot of Massachusetts. Once they 5 years ago they finally got the freedom to marry. I remember there being a lot of really inspirational, really moving stories about the couples who were getting married, and you'd see the photos in the paper, and you'd see them on the news. And now, of course, Massachusetts has the highest support for marriage equality in the country. I don't think that's a
Right.
coincidence.
Right. Well, I think it definitely has that effect. It it has it takes away the sort of the scariness of it once it's reality, and it's easy to hate something you don't understand. The hate comes from ignorance. That's the source of hate and and fear. And so when you understand something, it's really hard to fear it. Um, uh, especially something as good as love and marriage. You can't fear love and marriage when you see it in reality and not just talked about on conservative talk radio in hypotheticals. But the couple down the street gets married and adopts a kid, and your kids are going to school together and they play together on the weekend. It's really hard to hate that. So that's why I think it's really important that we move along as much and as best and as we can. And um, I think that we're moving in the right direction. We just need to make sure that we all turn out to support our organizations and our leaders and our activists that are fighting for this. And contribute whatever way you can, whether it's feet on the ground, whether it's phone banking in states that are doing this last minute push, lobbying legislators. Um, Maryland right now, it's really important to be calling your lawmakers, and to be, if you can get in on a lobby day, and get there and look your lawmaker in the eye and tell them your story. That's really important, and to also be getting your family and friends to do the same thing for you. But however you can contribute, just get involved and stay engaged in what's happening, because it's really important that we are constantly visible and vocal, and that's how we move public opinion along and we make these laws a reality.
So if people want to stay informed or make contributions in Illinois, if they're anywhere else in the world, what are some ways they can do that? Websites they can go to? What should they be paying attention to?
Equality Illinois' website, I think, is eqil.org. And the civil rights agenda is jointcra.org. And so those are two. I mean, obviously, I'm on the board of the second one, so uh, I appreciate if your watchers, take an interest and support my organization. But Equality is also a wonderful organization that has done some incredible work in Illinois and made Illinois a completely rural state other than Chicago, one of the safest and best places for LGBT people to live in the country. And so it's it's in it would be great if you could go there, and you'll find resources to learn more about on both websites about civil unions and how to contribute. But if you know anyone in Illinois, you know, uh, use the Facebooks, use the email, use your cell phone, and tell them to get involved, because we're not done. We've got more work to do. We're going to be working now with companies as well in Illinois to make sure they understand the law as well, and they understand what their rights and responsibilities are. And so that's the next step too. So we need as many voices as possible to make sure that we protect this victory and push it forward to the next
Yeah,
step.
rallying troops always very important. Anybody you know getting civil unions in June?
Um, uh, I do know a couple that I think are considering it. I think as we get closer to June 1st, I'll be getting a lot more of those
Yeah,
invites.
a lot of summer weddings, almost marriages, so close to marriages. We'll call them weddings for marriages for now, but a lot of nice, exciting celebrations coming up. Well, Phil Reese is a writer, a blogger, podcaster in Central Illinois. Phil, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if you want to get involved in Illinois, check out eqil.org or join tcra.org. You can get all up to speed on marriage equality by watching our recent episodes, or you can click here to subscribe. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a fave, and to leave your comments below. I'm Matt Baum from stop8.org. Thanks for watching.